Caitlin Clark has made a significant impact in the basketball realm, transforming the definition of a game-changing athlete. From guiding Iowa to an NCAA championship to leading the Indiana Fever to their first playoff since 2016, the #1 draft pick has fascinated followers. Although she initially intended for a low-key offseason, her influence both on and off the court indicates she is aimed for an even larger platform internationally. According to Sports Business Journal writer Tom Friend, the WNBA is set to leverage Clark's unmatched popularity by planning an Indiana Fever game abroad. Referred to as America's team by insiders, the Fever's growing prominence is greatly due to Clark's effect. Clark has already demonstrated her worldwide appeal. At a November Pro-Am golf event organized by Annika Sorenstam, she attracted large crowds, reminiscent of Arnold Palmer's peak. Supporters queued for autographs on items ranging from hats to skin, emphasizing her status as a generational talent. With record-breaking attendance at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, 17,035 fans, and an average television viewership of 178 million per game, Clark's impact is clear. Her presence internationally may represent a crucial moment in the WNBA's aim to globalize, with France speculated as the Fever's first international destination. While Clark's rise benefits the WNBA, some argue it contributes to the NBA's struggles. Jason Whitlock noted that NBA Finals viewership has consistently fallen from 65 million in 2018 to just 3 million in 2024. He contends that the league lacks engaging stories to rival Clark's captivating influence. Caitlin Clark has actually hurt the NBA, Whitlock asserted, attributing her prominence as a factor in fans shifting their focus to women's basketball. Meanwhile, the NBA faces difficulties replacing the excitement once brought by stars like Zion Williamson and Ja Morant. Clark's star power is not only uplifting the WNBA, it is transforming the basketball landscape. As her team gears up for a potential international debut, the Fever represent a new chapter in women's basketball that demands attention on a global level. Whether Clark has impacted the NBA or not, her influence has undeniably aided the WNBA in attaining long overdue acknowledgement. With the league ready to expand internationally, Caitlin Clark is poised to guide the way, demonstrating that the future of basketball is not limited to the men's game. There was nothing particularly remarkable about the Sept 19 game between the Fever and Mystics in Washington, D.C. It lacked significant stakes. This was the final game of the WNBA's regular season for both teams. Indiana had secured its playoff spot, and Washington had lost its ability to dictate its playoff fate. Most starters played minimal minutes. There was no tension, yet the crowd felt appropriate for something much larger. It set the regular season record for WNBA attendance at 20,711, surpassing any other game since the league's inception in 1997. It was both remarkable and not. On one side, there were the aforementioned low stakes for a game between two average teams. Coupled with the fact that it was a Thursday, it was not precisely a formula for a record crowd. On the other side, there was Caitlin Clark, who had demonstrated her ability to overshadow all of the above. It shouldn't have been surprising which factor prevailed. Like anyone who has spent recent years covering women's basketball, I'd seen Clark attract impressive crowds nationwide, including several in regions that were not known for basketball. At the Sweet 16 this spring in Albany, NY, I glanced into the stands and spotted a woman waving a sign indicating she had flown in for the game from Kuwait. How many individuals have a presence that compels someone to travel from Kuwait for a weekend in Albany? Certainly not any governor of New York. Yet this felt entirely normal within the context of Clark. where enthusiastic fans, strong demand, and elevated prices had already been established as the standard. It was not unexpected that Clark's star power was evident when she transitioned this spring from college to the WNBA. I had sensed the dialogue around women's basketball shift too significantly to anticipate anything different. A mention of covering the women's Final Four had evolved from eliciting a response of "Who played?" a few years ago to "Wow, Caitlin Clark." However, it was still a bit surprising just how effectively it translated and how lasting the resulting impact was. It feels simplistic to say it was like nothing I had witnessed in women's sports. I'm not certain it resembled anything anyone has ever seen. This was a matter of talent, of course, but also of timing. It was clear that the player destined to dominate the moment was Clark. That this particular game would break the attendance record was simply a matter of timing. The Mystics had relocated the game from their typical venue, the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Southeast DC, one of the smallest arenas in the league, to the significantly larger downtown spot, Capital One Arena. They had also moved a previous game against the Fever, along with others against the Sky and the Mercury. However, they had made a slight increase in capacity for this final match. The official basketball capacity of Capital One Arena is 20,356. This adjustment enabled the last matchup to surpass the attendance of the previous Fever Mystics game in June, which had been the first WNBA event to attract over 20,000 fans in the regular season since 1999, and exceed the early Mystics' box office triumphs of 98 and 99, which held the former league record. There had been numerous other sellouts this year in venues with slightly lower capacities. Other games could have potentially set a new record, given the available space to sell a few hundred more tickets. Every sold-out game of this remarkable WNBA Finals comes to mind. Yet, it was this specific game that achieved it, this otherwise insignificant, low-risk, end-of-season match. It was distinctive. There was nothing unexpected about witnessing the Clark effect at the Sweet 16 or Final Four. Those were unique moments marking the potential conclusion of a historic college career, filled with rivalry and tournament excitement. There had been nothing surprising about seeing it during the Fever's initial visit to DC, still early in her rookie year, and there had been nothing remarkable about observing it during the All-Star game. However, this was different. These were not teams contending for a championship. Their playoff outcomes, or lack thereof, were virtually confirmed. It was reasonable to expect that Clark would not play significant minutes. This game was merely a formality. No informed fan had any reason to anticipate much from this matchup. It felt like a playoff game. Street vendors sold shirts featuring Clark's image. Politicians from both parties had promoted fundraisers held during or around the game. I spotted my first Clark jersey of the day within seconds of arriving at the Metro platform, and many more followed. There were the usual starry-eyed little girls, but also adult men and numerous elderly women as well. That last group has always been my favorite. People began queuing outside the arena hours before the start of the game. As anticipated, Clark participated for just under 20 minutes. That was sufficient to give the audience a glimpse of what they came to see. She did make one 30-foot shot. She did not return to the court after the early moments of the third quarter. However, what I will remember most is how the record crowd cheered for what they witnessed instead. The 20,711 attendees did not leave when Clark did. They applauded Sika Kone, who has moved around the league in the past 2 years, coming off the bench to achieve a career high of 20 points. They applauded a delightful moment of sibling rivalry. The Mystics' Carly Samuelson and Fever's Katie Lou Samuelson tussled for a loose ball in a play that resulted in Katie Lou receiving a technical foul and Carly taking the resulting free throw. They cheered both for the Fever staging a comeback and for the Mystics ultimately putting an end to it. It was clear why most of this record crowd had come together. But what resonated with me the most was how they stayed for something greater. There has been extensive discussion regarding Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark being recognized as Time Athlete of the Year for 2024 earlier this month. Much of this discussion has centered around Washington Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson's remarks about how Clark should not have appeared on the subsequent Time magazine cover alone on December 13th. Another media figure to express their views on this topic is former NBA player Matt Barnes, who shared his thoughts during a December 18th episode of his All the Smoke podcast. Let me say this, Caitlin Clark deserves all the accolades. I think she faced a lot of skepticism entering the league, Barnes stated. She had to truly establish herself and underwent many challenges early in the season. In the Time article, Caitlin clearly accepted the honor, but was also quick to acknowledge the Black women of the W's past, who helped pave the way for her today. He continued, "So, Caitlin has accomplished everything expected of her and has faced criticism every step of the way." He further remarked, "The WNBA possesses a golden asset in their league and has done everything to undermine the momentum and attention she has brought to this game."
Caitlin has generated a substantial amount of new opportunities, attracted numerous new viewers, and increased revenue for the sport. So instead of downplaying the significance of who she is and what she has contributed, enjoy the journey, leverage the moment, and do everything possible to demonstrate to the fan base why they should have been watching before Caitlin arrived. Barnes concluded, seemingly